Ladies and gentlemen, listen carefully. There is a profound sacred power that resides within the woman who understands restraint, discernment, and self-respect. And yet in today's world, many are encouraged to give everything away, to be open, transparent, and unguarded. But a woman of strength, God's chosen woman, knows better. There are three things a woman must never reveal too soon, or perhaps ever, to a man who has not proven himself worthy. And this is not deception, this is wisdom. A woman's power is not just in her beauty, her intellect, or even her kindness. It is in her ability to govern herself, to know what to give and when to withhold. The world today encourages women to be entirely open, to bare their souls at the first sign of affection, and to share their wounds, in the hope that someone will come along to heal them. But this is a mistake. A woman who gives away the depth of her insecurities and emotional wounds without careful discernment is not practicing strength. She is exposing herself to forces that may not have her best interests at heart. Men are not inherently evil, nor are they naturally inclined to harm. However, the truth about human nature is that people, unless deeply grounded in moral responsibility, tend to act in their own self-interest. A woman who openly reveals her insecurities too soon places herself in a position where her vulnerabilities can be used against her. This is not to say that she should never share. Of course, in a committed, trusted relationship where a man has already proven himself through his actions, a deeper level of emotional intimacy is both necessary and good. But the mistake is made when a woman assumes that a man, simply because he expresses interest, has the character to handle her wounds with care. Consider the nature of strength. Strength is not just about force, it is about control. A man who is physically strong but lacks discipline is a danger to himself and others. Likewise, a woman who has emotional depth but lacks discernment about when to reveal it becomes a liability to herself. She must first observe. A man's true nature is not revealed in the words he speaks to her when he desires her. It is revealed in how he handles challenges, commitments, and responsibilities when there is no immediate benefit for him. If a woman shares her deepest insecurities, her fears, her past traumas, her wounds, before a man has demonstrated that he is strong enough to bear them, she is not engaging in emotional intimacy. She is gambling with her own well-being. It is a test that many men fail, not because they are cruel, but because they were never prepared to carry such a burden. There is another danger to revealing one's wounds too soon, the creation of false intimacy. When a woman reveals something deeply personal about herself early on, it can create a bond that is not based on mutual understanding or earned trust, but rather on a shared moment of vulnerability. This can lead to a dangerous illusion. She may believe that because a man knows her pain, he cares for her, but knowledge and care are not the same thing. A man can listen to a woman's pain and yet remain emotionally detached. He may even use that information later, consciously or unconsciously, to manipulate her, to make her doubt herself, or to gain control over her emotions. A woman must also recognize that true security comes from within, not from validation. If she constantly seeks comfort by exposing her wounds to a man, hoping he will reassure her, she places herself in a cycle of dependence. She may begin to believe that she needs his approval to feel whole, and in doing so, she gives him a power over her that he has not necessarily earned. A strong woman understands that a man should be a source of support, but he cannot be the foundation of her emotional stability. That is something she must build for herself. What then should a woman do? She should watch. She should wait. She should allow a man to prove through small acts that he is capable of handling responsibility. A man who is not even responsible with himself, who lacks discipline, who does not follow through on his word, who avoids commitment, is certainly not a man who should be entrusted with a woman's most vulnerable self. If a man cannot manage his own emotions, how can he be expected to safeguard hers? This does not mean that a woman should be cold or distant. On the contrary, she should be warm, feminine, and engaging. But she must understand the difference between openness and recklessness. She can share her thoughts, her interests, her opinions. These things reveal personality, not weakness. But the deeper matters, the wounds that shaped her, the fears that keep her awake at night, these should be shared only when she has evidence that a man is capable of protecting that part of her, not out of mere hope or attraction. And what of love? Should love not be built on trust? Yes, but trust is not given, it is earned. A woman who understands this will never rush to reveal her soul to a man simply because he shows interest. Instead, she will let time be her ally. A man's true nature is revealed in patience, not in moments of passion. A woman's wounds are not weaknesses. They are the marks of her survival, the evidence of her strength. But strength is most powerful when it is controlled. And so she must ask herself, has this man shown me through his actions that he is worthy of knowing my deepest self? If the answer is no, she must wait. Because a true man, one who is worthy, will not rush her. He will not demand her vulnerability before it's time. He will earn it. A woman's vision is not just a collection of dreams or ambitions. It is the blueprint of her destiny, the sacred path she has been called to walk. In a world that constantly seeks to define her, she must be fiercely protective of her ultimate purpose, for not everyone she encounters will have the capacity to understand or support it. Too often, women make the mistake of openly sharing their greatest desires, believing that those around them will offer encouragement and guidance. But the truth is, when a woman reveals her vision prematurely, she exposes it to forces that can dilute, manipulate, or even destroy it. The first danger lies in the reality that most people do not see the world as it is, they see it as they are. When a woman shares her grandest aspirations with the wrong man, he will process them through the lens of his own limitations. If he has never envisioned greatness for himself, he will not be able to comprehend hers. If he has settled for mediocrity, he may view her ambition as unrealistic or even threatening. He may not say it outright, but his response, whether it be dismissal, discouragement, or indifference, will plant seeds of doubt in her mind. Doubt is the enemy of purpose. A woman who allows another person's skepticism to take root may begin to question herself. Perhaps she was too idealistic. Perhaps she was aiming too high. Slowly, she may shrink her dreams, not because she lacks ability, but because she has internalized the disbelief of someone who was never meant to carry the weight of her vision in the first place. There is also the danger of control. If a woman shares her greatest desires with a man who has not proven himself worthy of that knowledge, she risks him trying to reshape her purpose to fit his own expectations. Some men, especially those who struggle with their own sense of inadequacy, may attempt to subtly influence a woman's path so that it aligns more with what benefits them rather than what is truly meant for her. It may begin as gentle persuasion, disguised as concern. Are you sure you want to take that risk? Wouldn't it be easier to just settle for something more stable? I just don't want to see you struggle. At first, his words may seem like care, like wisdom even, but in reality, he is guiding her away from herself. And if she does not recognize it, she may wake up one day to find that she has abandoned her calling for a life that was never truly hers. A woman's purpose is sacred because it is a divine assignment. It is not random, nor is it meant to be negotiable. Every great woman who has ever walked this earth had to fight for her vision, not just against external obstacles, but against the voices that sought to convince her she was not capable or deserving of what she was called to do. The more powerful the vision, the greater the resistance. This is why wisdom demands that a woman guard her ultimate desires until the right time and with the right person. Not every man is meant to know the fullness of her purpose. The right man will not need to be convinced of her greatness. He will recognize it. He will not be intimidated by her ambition. He will admire it. And most importantly, he will not try to change it. He will protect it. Until such a man proves himself, a woman must hold her vision close to her heart. This does not mean she must be secretive or disconnected. She can discuss ideas, interests, and passions, but she must be mindful of revealing the core of her purpose before she has discerned whether the person she is sharing it with is truly capable of honoring it. Some visions require solitude before they can be shared. Some goals are meant to be cultivated in silence, away from the noise of opinions and the weight of outside expectations. A woman must trust that she does not need external validation for what she already knows in her soul. She does not need immediate agreement or applause. She only needs to continue building step by step, trusting that the right people will align with her at the right time. The world will often tell a woman that her dreams should be secondary, that they should be adjusted to accommodate others. But history proves otherwise. The women who have made the greatest impact, whether in leadership, art, science, or faith, were those who refused to dilute their vision for the comfort of those around them. They protected it fiercely, and because of that, they fulfilled their purpose. A woman must ask herself, does this man encourage my highest self, or does he make me doubt it? Does he challenge me to grow, or does he subtly discourage me from stepping into my full potential? The answers to these questions will reveal whether he is a true partner or merely an obstacle disguised as love. A man who is truly for her will never see her dreams as competition. He will understand that her success does not diminish him, it elevates both of them. But such a man is rare, and until he proves himself, a woman must move with discernment, knowing that her vision is not meant to be carelessly exposed, but carefully protected, nurtured, and ultimately fulfilled. Wisdom is a woman's most powerful weapon, yet it is also the very thing that can make her a target. A woman who possesses deep understanding, sharp intuition, and a keen sense of perception must be extremely careful about how and when she reveals this to a man, not because wisdom should be hidden, but because not everyone is ready to receive it. Knowledge, when given too freely or at the wrong time, can provoke resistance, defensiveness, and even resentment. A truly wise woman understands that some truths are not meant to be spoken immediately, and some lessons are best learned through experience rather than explanation. Men by nature have an inherent desire to lead, to solve problems, and to assert their strength. When a woman readily exposes the depth of her wisdom to a man who has not yet developed the maturity to appreciate it, he may not recognize it as a gift, but rather as a challenge. Instead of valuing her insights, he may feel as though she is attempting to control or outshine him. A woman may think that by offering her wisdom, she is helping, guiding, or even protecting him from mistakes, but if a man has not asked for that wisdom, he is unlikely to receive it in the way she intends. The natural ego of an unprepared man resists unsolicited wisdom, especially when it comes from a woman. If a man is insecure or struggling with his own sense of purpose, he may perceive her knowledge as a threat to his authority rather than a valuable resource. Instead of appreciating her insight, he may respond with subtle dismissal, arrogance, or even hostility. He may attempt to diminish her thoughts, belittle her perspective, or convince her that she is overthinking or imagining things, not because she is wrong, but because he is unwilling to accept that she might see something he does not. The tragedy in this is that many women, after experiencing rejection or resistance when sharing their wisdom, begin to doubt themselves. They question whether their intuition was incorrect, whether they were too opinionated, whether they should have remained silent. Over time, they may suppress their voice, not because they have lost their wisdom, but because they have learned that speaking it invites conflict. This is a dangerous path. A woman's wisdom is not meant to be buried. It is meant to be cultivated and shared, but with discernment. A woman must recognize that true wisdom is not just about what she knows, but also about when to speak and how to present her knowledge. There are moments when silence is more powerful than explanation. There are times when allowing a man to experience the consequences of his actions will teach him far more than any words she could say. There are situations where a simple question, asked at the right moment, will open his mind in a way that direct instruction never could. This is not manipulation, it is strategy. It is understanding that the human mind, especially the male mind, resists information that it has not arrived at independently. The most effective way to lead a man toward greater understanding is not to overwhelm him with knowledge, but to inspire his curiosity. A woman who understands this will not waste energy trying to convince a man of something he is not ready to hear. Instead, she will create an environment where he wants to seek her wisdom, where he begins to trust her insight because he has seen it prove true over time. There is also the matter of spiritual and emotional depth. A woman who possesses great wisdom often sees things others do not. She notices patterns, understands human nature, and senses danger before it arrives. She can read between the lines of what is spoken and unspoken. This ability is both a blessing and a burden. If she reveals too much of this to a man who is not ready for such depth, he may become overwhelmed, suspicious, or even fearful. He may feel as though she knows too much, sees too deeply, and holds an understanding that he cannot match. And instead of appreciating her gift, he may pull away, either by rejecting her insight or by shutting himself off from her altogether. This is why a woman must pace her revelation of wisdom. She must observe a man's ability to handle truth before she gives it to him in full. She must ask herself, does this man value knowledge? Does he seek growth? Does he respond to correction with humility or with ego? A man who is not willing to learn will never value a woman who teaches. But a man who is strong enough to embrace his own growth will see her wisdom as a treasure, not a threat. Furthermore, wisdom should never be given away cheaply. A woman must recognize that her knowledge is valuable and not everyone deserves access to it. She must protect her mental and emotional energy, ensuring that she is not constantly pouring into men who have no intention of applying what she offers. Wisdom given to the wrong person is wasted breath, but wisdom given at the right time to the right man can change the course of his life. A woman's intuition and understanding are among the greatest gifts she can bring into a relationship, but only if they are used wisely. A truly strong woman does not argue unnecessarily, does not waste words on deaf ears, and does not feel the need to prove herself to those who refuse to see. Instead, she moves with quiet confidence, knowing that her wisdom is her power. She does not reveal all that she knows, but rather she allows her presence, her actions, and her unwavering discernment to speak for her. The man who is ready will recognize her wisdom not because she tells him, but because he feels it in every interaction. And that in itself is far more powerful than words. A woman's past is not merely a collection of events, it is the foundation of who she has become. Every triumph, every mistake, every wound, and every lesson has shaped her character, her values, and her strength. However, the past is also a deeply personal thing, and sharing it with the wrong person at the wrong time or in the wrong way can have consequences that are difficult to undo. The belief that full disclosure is necessary for intimacy is a dangerous one, particularly when it comes to relationships. A wise woman understands that while her past has made her who she is, not every man is entitled to know its every detail. One of the most common mistakes women make is believing that transparency will automatically lead to understanding. They assume that if they share their past struggles, their heartbreaks, or their failures, a man will respond with empathy and appreciation for their resilience. But this is not always the case. Men, like all people, interpret information through the lens of their own experiences, insecurities, and biases. A man who has not yet matured emotionally may not see a woman's past as a testament to her growth, but instead as a weakness or even a liability. The truth is, not every man is capable of handling the complexities of a woman's history. Some will use it against her, even if unintentionally. They may bring it up in arguments comparing her to past versions of herself. They may allow it to shape how they see her, defining her not by who she is today, but by who she once was. Some men, when confronted with a woman's past relationships, mistakes, or struggles, may develop insecurities they did not previously have. They may begin to question their place in her life, feeling as though they must compete with memories, experiences, or people who are no longer relevant. A woman's past should never be a tool for manipulation, neither by herself nor by the man she is with. She is under no obligation to relive every detail of her previous relationships, every heartbreak, or every wrong decision, simply to satisfy a man's curiosity. If a man is truly invested in her, what will matter most is who she is today, not who she was before they met. A man who demands to know every aspect of her past is often less concerned with understanding her and more interested in control. He may not realize it, but his desire to uncover her history may stem from his own insecurities rather than a genuine need for deeper connection. There is also the risk of oversharing too soon. A woman may feel comfortable with a man early on, believing that he is trustworthy, that he understands her, that he is different. In that comfort, she may reveal deeply personal experiences, her past betrayals, her regrets, her childhood wounds. But attraction and connection do not equal commitment. A man who has not yet invested in her emotionally, mentally, and spiritually may not have the capacity to hold space for her past in a meaningful way. He may listen, but that does not mean he will honor what she shares. He may sympathize, but that does not mean he will protect her story. A woman must ask herself, has this man proven that he can carry the weight of my truth, or am I giving him access to something he has not earned? Some past experiences are sacred, meant to be guarded and shared only when the time is right. This does not mean a woman should be deceptive or secretive. It simply means she must be selective. She must know that just because someone is interested in her past does not mean they are entitled to it. She must recognize that her past is not a confession to be made, nor is it a burden she must hand over for a man to inspect and judge. Instead, it is a testament to her resilience, and only those who have demonstrated wisdom, emotional maturity, and unwavering respect should be allowed access to it. A woman should also consider the power of mystery, not in a manipulative way, but in the understanding that everything does not need to be revealed at once. There is strength in knowing that she controls her own narrative, that she has the right to choose when and how she shares her experiences. A relationship is not built in a single conversation, but over time. And with time, a man who is truly worthy will learn what he needs to know, not because she feels pressured to tell him, but because he has created an environment where she feels safe enough to do so. The past does not define a woman, but how she handles her past does. A woman who carries herself with confidence and self-respect does not need to explain herself to anyone who has not earned the right to hear her story. She does not seek validation from a man's approval of her history, nor does she allow herself to be reduced to past mistakes or misfortunes. Instead, she walks forward with the understanding that her past belongs to her, not as something to be hidden, but as something to be protected. And the right man, he will not demand details that do not serve the relationship. He will not make her feel as though she must prove herself worthy of love by disclosing every aspect of her history. Instead, he will recognize that the woman standing before him today is the result of a journey that has already been walked. He will focus not on where she has been, but on where she is going. And that ultimately is the kind of man a woman should entrust with the truth of her past, if and when she chooses to share it. A woman's deepest fears and weaknesses are not things to be handed over carelessly. They are the rawest, most vulnerable aspects of her being, the fragile parts of her heart and mind that few should ever be allowed to see. To expose them prematurely, especially to a man who has not yet proven himself, is to risk giving him power he may not know how to handle, or worse, power he may one day use against her. A wise woman understands that while vulnerability is necessary for intimacy, it must be revealed with discernment. Not as a test of trust, but as a privilege that must be earned. Too often, women are encouraged to believe that openness in a relationship means immediate and full disclosure. They are told that honesty requires laying bare every insecurity, every fear, every hidden wound. But not every man is equipped to handle such honesty with care. Some will listen with genuine compassion, while others will store the information away, knowingly or unknowingly, for future use, whether as a means of control, a source of judgment, or a weapon in moments of conflict. A woman's weaknesses are not always obvious. They are not simply her fears of failure, rejection, or inadequacy. They include the wounds left by past betrayals, the silent struggles with self-worth, the doubts that creep in during moments of uncertainty. They include the things she does not even fully understand about herself, the emotional patterns she has inherited, the subconscious beliefs that shape her decisions, the insecurities she fights against every day. And while a relationship may be a place where these things can be explored, it is not a place where they should be exposed carelessly, especially not to a man whose character has not yet been tested. Men, like all human beings, respond to information in ways that align with their own experiences, fears, and desires. A man who is strong, secure, and emotionally mature will see a woman's vulnerabilities and seek to protect them. He will understand that her fears are not weaknesses to be judged, but places where she needs reassurance and support. He will handle her insecurities with care, knowing that trust is a fragile thing, easily damaged and difficult to restore. But a man who is insecure, immature, or self-serving will not see her vulnerabilities in the same way. He may not consciously intend harm, but he may react in ways that make her feel exposed, unworthy, or unsafe. A woman must ask herself, has this man shown himself to be trustworthy with the small things? Does he listen with understanding, or does he dismiss my concerns? Does he build me up, or does he subtly use my fears to maintain control? These questions are not just theoretical, they are essential to protecting her emotional well-being. A woman who reveals too much too soon risks forming a bond that is based not on true security, but on emotional dependency. She may mistake his temporary comfort for long-term stability, only to realize later that the foundation was never strong enough to hold the weight of her true self. This is not to say that a woman should always appear strong, invulnerable, or unaffected. True strength does not come from pretending that fears do not exist, but from knowing when, how, and to whom they should be revealed. There is wisdom in withholding parts of oneself until the time is right. A man who genuinely cares will never demand immediate access to a woman's most fragile places. He will understand that trust is built gradually, that deep connection is formed over time, and that true intimacy does not come from knowing everything, but from handling what is known with care. There is also a danger in expecting a man to fix what is broken. Many women, believing that love should heal all wounds, reveal their struggles in the hope that a man will offer solutions, validation, or protection from their inner battles. But healing is not something that can be outsourced. A woman who hands her fears to a man, expecting him to make them disappear, places a burden upon him that no human being can fully carry. The right partner will walk alongside her, but he cannot complete the work for her. That is something only she can do. Furthermore, revealing one's weaknesses too soon can create an imbalanced dynamic in a relationship. A woman who lays all her fears before a man who has not yet proven his ability to be a source of strength may unknowingly place herself in a position of emotional vulnerability without security. She may feel seen, but not necessarily protected. She may feel heard, but not necessarily understood. And in doing so, she may find herself more exposed than she intended to be, left holding the weight of her own fears without the assurance that they are safe in his hands. A woman must also be aware that not all weaknesses are meant to be spoken. Some are meant to be conquered in silence. Some fears lose their power not through discussion, but through overcome. A woman who constantly speaks of her insecurities may reinforce them within herself, whereas a woman who faces them quietly and steadily often finds that they diminish on their own. This does not mean she must suffer alone, but it does mean that strength often comes not from exposing a wound, but from learning how to heal it. The most powerful woman is not the one who has no fears, but the one who knows when to reveal them and when to conquer them on her own. She understands that her emotions are valid, but not everyone deserves access to them. She knows that her struggles do not make her weak, but not every man is strong enough to hold them. She walks with confidence, not because she has never been broken, but because she has learned how to rebuild herself without needing another to do it for her. And the right man, he will not need to be told everything at once. He will not push her to expose herself before she is ready. He will not see her weaknesses as flaws, nor will he use them as leverage. Instead, he will wait, he will listen, and he will create a space where she feels safe enough to share, not because she feels pressured, but because she chooses to. And that choice, made with wisdom and discernment, is the foundation of a love that is truly unbreakable. A truly wise woman understands that power is not in what she reveals, but in what she protects. The world often tells women that love requires full disclosure, that trust demands complete openness, and that vulnerability should be given freely. But wisdom says otherwise. Not every truth is meant to be spoken immediately. Not every man is ready to receive deep wisdom. And not every relationship is deserving of complete transparency. A woman chosen by God carries something sacred within her. Her wisdom, her past, and her vulnerabilities are not burdens to be recklessly handed over, but treasures to be guarded. She knows that the right man will recognize her strength, not because she proves it through words, but because he feels it in her presence. She understands that some lessons are learned in silence, that some truths are best revealed in time, and that real intimacy is built not on emotional exposure, but on mutual respect and trust. The man who is worthy of her will never demand what is not yet his to know. He will not rush her into revealing parts of herself that should be unfolded slowly. Instead, he will earn the right to see her fully, not because he is entitled to her secrets, but because he has proven that he can carry them with care. A woman of wisdom moves with discernment. She does not seek validation through unnecessary confession, nor does she offer her soul to a man who has not shown himself capable of holding it. She walks with quiet strength, knowing that her value is not in what she shares, but in what she chooses to share, when, how, and with whom. And in that choice lies her greatest power.